Welcome, Patrick. Welcome to the mysterious powers that be.
Hello.
As you put it. So actually, on that point for a moment, is CDA a mysterious, shadowy thing in your mind's eye?
Not really. Just something I'm not too familiar with.
Okay.
That's all.
I think our brand recognition is poor.
Yeah. I know UCLA is making a big effort to make sure that CDA is really transparent, but I think other colleges are not. And so I think there might be some amount of trepidation.
Yeah. No, so not anybody's intention here, at least not mine. I won't speak for, I guess, anyone else, but not my intention for this to be a shadow organization or anything. And we have Alexander here. Welcome.
Hello.
At which school, remind me, you're representing?
I'm with Taylor. I'm from UCLA.
Ah.
I was nominated for president next year.
That's right.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Nice to meet you, Alexander. And so Claremont, Berkeley, and Caltech are not here. I know Mengsha had something come up as well. I thought Jenny was going to be here.
She'll be here in 5-10 minutes.
Oh, that's right.
Messenger thing.
That's why I thought that. So I want to leave discussion about the spring competitions until she joins, because she was one of the strongest proponents of trying to find something to do to fill the gap left behind by Cardinal Classics cancellation. Let's talk about the second item on the agenda, 2018-2019 tentative competition schedule. I know some people are looking to begin booking rooms, have the opportunity to begin booking rooms this month already, so that's exciting. Let me set up a screen share here. And we had done a little bit of preliminary work on this along these lines already. So if you can see my screen now, we had discussed previously what date people thought they might be having their 2018-2019 competitions in. That's this column in offensive orange. And this is what people thought from like a few months back. So I don't know if things have changed, but I was thinking is let's describe each team, when they think they intend to have a competition next year, what alternative dates they have in mind in case that doesn't work out, and why. So for instance, speaking on behalf of Kelly, who runs Beach Ball, November 10th is the date that she has in mind for 2018-2019. And as a backup, the 17th at UCSB, similar to the 18th, we tried to have the competition this year at first. The university at Santa Barbara doesn't allow any other group, apparently, to have athletic events. They have this campus-wide turkey trot marathon that day. So 17th, which would normally be our backup date, is not an option for that. And so we looked at a variety of possible dates, and April, third week in April seems to be the most likely for a backup date, which is not great, but I asked everybody to have, I'd like to ask everybody to have backup dates in mind. So that would be the backup date for UCSB. So let's go down the roster. We don't have Berkeley here yet. USC, have you given thought yet to Glamour SmackDown for next year?
We're looking for the President's Day weekend, so that would be February 16th next year.
And should that day fail to work out for any particular reason, do you have a backup date?
We haven't voted on backup dates with our board yet.
Okay. I'll encourage you to consider, you know, if that doesn't work out, or I don't know when you're able to book room space. If you're able to book it early, you may not need a backup plan. You might be able to book. SJSU.
So we're still looking at the 10th, but we can, our backup date is probably the 17th. We've got the weekend after.
November 10th, backup 17th. And Cal Poly Mustang.
I'm not sure that we've actually looked at specific dates, but I mean, I'm sure what's on there we try and do early February. So I was just trying to pull up the scheduling website right now because I don't think we've actually talked about that. So I'll be sure to bring that up tomorrow.
All right. And then I think I saw Jenny join.
Yeah. Hi. I don't know if my mic is on. Is it on? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Jenny, we're just talking about competition days.
Oh, okay. So we haven't oh wait, can I? Okay, yeah. So for Berkeley, we haven't reserved our space yet, but it's going to be around the same date. So let me look. It should be the last Saturday of February if we get our first choice. So I believe that should be, I'm just looking at the calendar. February 23rd, yeah.
All right. And if the 23rd should not work out, do you have any sort of idea what alternative dates you would be considering?
Yeah, so previously we either shifted a week before or a week after, so it'd either be the 16th or the 2nd. Or March 2nd.
February 16 or March 2nd. Yeah, March 2nd probably would overlap Dance by the Shores. Those are just about as far apart as you can get them, so it's unlikely that would cause you any trouble.
Got it.
February 16th is looking like SmackDown will be aiming for that.
Okay.
So, and I'm not trying to push anybody one way or the other. I'm just trying to point out where everybody's plans are. Right now, it looks like February, if everybody gets their preferred dates, looks like everything will work out. And CCBDC, the last I heard, I think they were not planning on hosting a competition 2018-2019. So I will follow up with them. Since we don't have a rep for them at the moment, then we'll just leave that blank. Although typically they've been earlier in November or October. So for near-term bookings, oh, sorry, UCLA, you actually wanted this conversation because you were interested in hosting a competition next year.
Yeah, our date is much more of a question than a statement, which is based off of what we just heard. When would be best for UCLA to have one?
I'll suggest that at the moment, given people's primary choices of dates, April has some gaps in it. May has nothing in it. I know that most people don't like to schedule in May because a few schools are out by then.
Mm-hmm.
Berkeley, I think in particular, is out, although they're far enough north that maybe that's a secondary concern for you.
USC gets out by May 9th, 10th usually. So if it's that late in May, we would have exams, and then afterward, we wouldn't really have a way of letting our students compete as a team.
Yeah,
Okay.
We have finals the first week of May, so after that, we don't send anyone to competition.
So then April would be a better idea.
April is also in the middle, so you know how Nationals is in the middle of April?
Yeah.
So try to, I guess, work around that because I know a lot of couples from teams go to Nationals.
Do you know what dates Nationals are for 2019?
I do not.
Is this USA Dance Nationals?
Huh?
This USA Dance Nationals?
Yeah. We can look that up.
Yeah.
Right now.
So the other month that doesn't have a lot of competitions, of course, is March. The reason people are leery of March is because they're, again, finals and spring break. Okay.
So this year, USA Dance Nationals is the 6th through the 8th, which is the second weekend in April. And if they keep that then that's where all that will be.
Yeah, so that would be,
Probably a pretty stable date for them.
if I fast forward to April 2019, so we're looking at USA Nationals here, probably CR here. This 19th, 20th, nothing at the moment. Unless beach ball couldn't happen in November, Kelly would probably move it to this date. Stanford is presumably on the 27th for next year. So the 20th, maybe, or the 20. I would say the 20th is probably the most favorable date for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
So the only overlap we have at the moment then is for November. SJSU and UCSB both have a preferred date of November 10th. If you're flexible and you were to choose November 17th, then I think things would work out for both teams attending both competitions. I know that UCSB will not schedule it on the 17th. I forget when people joined the conversation, but so for UCSB, the 17th won't be authorized by the university. So as far as voting an overlap, you would certainly be not overlapping on the 17th. You have a preference for the 10th, I guess?
Not in the preference historically, but I can talk about it with the rest of the board about moving to the week after. It shouldn't be too much of a big deal.
I know this past year you were on November 11th, but years before that, I think you were on the weekend before or after. It was the weekend before.
To a rigid date, so
Sorry?
it shouldn't be. It's not a rigid date yet, so it shouldn't be too big a deal to move it to the 17th.
So, all right. So the near-term dates that we do want to figure out, though, are SJSU and UCLA, I guess, for purposes of booking rooms, because your two teams have the opportunity to book this month. Is that correct?
I believe our chance to book is sometime in early April.
Okay. So there's a couple of weeks left to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Let us know what your board thinks. I know that Kelly really wants to do November 10th, and we could have the competitions on the same date again. Possibly UCSB beach ball could move to April, but other dates in November for us won't work.
What are the considerations with December?
Good question. I had asked the question. Go ahead.
I think the only problem with December is winter break and how different schools, some have later winter breaks, some of them have earlier winter breaks. So that really only leaves like the first week of December where you could possibly have a competition, and then you might run into the problem of exams.
Yeah, so for us, we have exams in the beginning of December, and then the second half of December starts winter break.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have exams the first week of December. So
Gotcha. Cool.
So just to be concrete as to dates, you have exams on December 2nd through 7th.
I guess it depends on the school. It could either be the first or second week of December.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cool. January. Looks like nobody's picked dates on January's. What's the thoughts on January?
That's kind of the same thing because winter break is usually about a month long, at least for us. So we get back to school in the middle of January.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think the only week that works is like the last week of January, but
That's right after schools get back.
yeah, it's really hard to make people like register for competitions while they're on break.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
competitions that early is not advisable.
Gotcha.
we were looking at the last weekend of January, specifically that weekend. That overlaps City Lights. So I know for the professionals that would normally help out with beach ball, Kelly expects a large number of them to be at City Lights.
Right. Right.
And for NorCal, I would assume that a lot of the NorCal dancers would be at City Lights as well.
Yeah, we usually have like a excursion to go out and actually watch the competition. So we watch like an actual competition, not like a collegiate one, I guess. Like our little,
Yeah, we usually do too, except that our school starts the spring semester very late in January. So this semester, Sea Light was the first weekend after school started. So any competitions then would be tough for us to make.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly enough for us to take it to our board and see what we can do. Because apparently I discovered that we can book as many years in advance as we need to.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. So we're able to, you know, just keep
book the next,
keep
like,
setting
3 or
up the
4
next few
years.
years if we need to.
Yeah. Can you get something on the calendar for 2022? for us?
Exactly.
We can only book like 2 months in advance. It's terrible.
we have to book a year in advance, like, but only a year. We can't do like.
Like you have to, every day that goes by, if you want an event on that date next year, you have to book it that day.
Not really, but it's a little bit more flexible than that. But pretty much, like, I have to book Berkeley Classic right now, but they like took it off. They took like our venue off online, so I actually have to like go in and talk to them.
Wow.
But, yeah, I have to do that.
All right, so I think that covers the bases for prospective 2018-2019 competition dates, with still the action on my part to talk to CCBDC and see what their thoughts are.
What is CCBDC again?
They're typically first weekend in November or October, but I think the latest that I had heard was next year they were planning on not hosting a competition. Shall we move on to discuss a slightly different topic? The spring competition or spring quarter in general, and with special emphasis on the cancellation of Cardinal Classic. If there's anything that people think we can throw together, want to throw together to replace that. Jenny, you had some thoughts about maybe
Cutting off,
trying to.
I can't really hear anything.
Oh, what was that?
Jenny, you had some thoughts about possibly teams getting together and co-hosting a competition.
Yeah, so sorry, it like cut off, so I couldn't really tell what you were saying, but so we thought we were gonna host a competition, but I just got word from Sports Cup today that we can't book this late in the game because it's literally next month, and April 28th is already booked for our gym, so we won't be able to host it. So that kind of leaves us to renting out a studio, but that'll be more expensive. Premiere in Fremont is about $4,000 for the day. So we can pretty much only do that if we have like several teams come together and fund the competition. And of course, I feel like, you know, if teams donate money to the competition, then their, you know, admission will be free, or to a certain extent it'll be free, I guess. So I don't really know how that's going to work yet, but your opinions will be great.
I can't speak for all colleges, but I know that UCSB does not pay for their team's admission to competitions, and so that wouldn't really help us at all. And so we definitely could not afford to donate like $1,000 to this.
Okay, so you're saying that like the actual students are the ones that are paying, not the team?
Yep.
Got you. Okay. Another option that we were thinking of was to contact Dance Stars Festival. That's a new competition hosted by Karina Smirnoff in San Jose, which is the same day. And we were going to ask if they can add in some collegiate level events. But I think that might be kind of a stretch since it's an actual competition that's been planned for a while.
I thought that Dance Stars was on the Sunday. Is it Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, I was told it was on a Saturday, but we can check.
Yeah, let's check that.
My understanding was that it was Sunday.
Yeah, hold on. Dance Stars.
Sunday opportunity.
A Sunday competition might work for people in the Bay Area. For people traveling from further south, I'm thinking probably not so well.
So it is on Sunday?
Yes, it's on Sunday.
Okay. I guess I just know that.
So I have from my message from Aaron last night that we were not planning on going to Stanford anyway when it was still existing because it happens after the date where the university does not allow us to host club events anymore because students should be studying for exams. And then now I don't think we would be able to get members up north for some other competition. And I just asked my roommate because she's our treasurer. And we would not be able to help out financially either.
Okay.
So I realize this date is even worse in the past when people are allowed to travel and stuff, but Cal Poly does actually have our usual location reserved for May 12th. And I know we were actually having an officer meeting when we got news that the competition was canceled. So I'm very confident in the fact that the team is really all for helping host something else. People were pretty sad. So like if May 12th would somehow be helpful, that is an option.
So that would also go into finals, and that would be for school ends, I think. So.
Yeah.
I think on UCSB's and Una Choi was also thinking about maybe we should have a mini beach ball on May 12th. Do I have the date right for that, William?
I believe so. Let me double check real fast.
It's not great for all of the schools, but maybe plans for May 12th could in some way be augmented. Amberly, so you said that Cal Poly it's the Chumash ballroom?
Yeah. Currently we have our like spring social event there, but we've not planned anything for it yet. So it would not be hard to do something else.
Just curious, when does your school end? So like when does May 12th end?
Our finals are the first week of June. So yeah.
And mini beach ball is May 12th.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm hearing is you guys so there probably wouldn't be a possibility to host at like a studio in the Bay Area because we won't have enough funding. Is that the general consensus?
Yeah, I know Cal Poly can't afford to help like financially, so.
Okay.
Yeah, if the floor itself or the studio itself cost $4,000, then you add in judges, scrutineer, a few other things, you're probably at a $7,000 competition without any kind of showcase on top of that. I'm thinking back to how beach ball runs, and if you have, let's say you have 200 competitors, which is a healthy size competition at $30 each. Yeah, you'd need to have a little bit bigger competition than that, unless there was some way you could get external funding. Like what we do sometimes, we apply for funding from the school, of course, and that generally is what allows us to have showcases. But if it were a competition at an off-campus location, then those sorts of funding might not be available.
Would San Jose State be able to get a center since I know it's in the Bay Area?
I'm not sure, but there are some spaces on campus we could ask, but I'm not sure if reservations would be available this night.
Okay.
The other thing, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that could possibly be an option to host at San Jose State instead of Berkeley.
Another thing about April 28th, I remember from the chat, was that Chris Elwood was definitely not available on that date.
Yeah, he's not available then.
If we were to still try to do something at, say, at SJSU or a studio on the 28th, then would that be trying to get Kenneth to scrutineer for it, or is there another scrutineer for O2CM?
I actually don't know. I only know of Chris.
Yeah. Hmm. SJSU, if you think you have a chance of being able to rent a floor, it might be worth finding out.
Yeah, I know we have our bar which we host Star Invitational, and that's relatively cheap compared to a studio. It was only 1,000, I think.
I wonder if Kenneth would be available and willing to travel. I can check with Kenneth as to his availability, but I feel like it's a bit of a long shot. I mean, the whole thing.
Yeah. I just thought, I guess what we were thinking of it would be really fun to do like a collaborative event between teams, but that would obviously be dependent on if we have money within the teams. But I thought it would just be like super fun to like, come together and like help Stanford out.
Yeah. Sorry, who is the person at Stanford who was organizing Cardinal?
I don't know if they have an actual competition coordinator. So basically their whole administration fell apart and then they lost their ASCC funding, I think. So they like actually don't have, they're like not a registered club anymore. I think that's what it is. But it was, it was Elliot that I was talking to, and then I was talking to two other people. Hold on, I can pull up. I think one is Olivia and the other is Sunny. So those three people I was talking to.
Who was that last one?
Sunny Shaw.
I feel like it might be useful to have them as part of this conversation, but I don't know who them is. Now I guess I somewhat know.
Yeah, so it's Olivia Ann, at least that's what her name is on Facebook, Sunny Shaw, and Elliot Rosen. I know they're not part of the CDA, which I don't really know why, but.
Well, we invited them last year and they thought about it, but they had some other things they were focused on, I guess, and it wasn't a priority.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have like a group chat message with them so I can contact them. But basically they like can't really help us with anything. All they have is like supplies for competitions. They don't have any money that they can use because they don't have access to their funding.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy idea to throw out. Because it was mentioned the far out possibility of working with the Dance Stars Festival. Their itinerary appears to be a full day competition on Sunday, but Saturday they only have like an afternoon of workshops, potentially like a Saturday morning, the 28th.
That could work. So we do have a contact for dance festivals, so it's just a matter of reaching out and asking what specifically we want and seeing if they want to do it.
If we only have a morning session, what can we fit in there? Like we could do just a syllabus competition maybe?
Probably, because we can just incorporate the open level stuff with the actual competition.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they still accepting entries for their open level events?
I don't know.
So
Probably.
they're accepting, quote, better late than never registration through April 15th.
That sounds like yes.
That is a possibility. So I have a group chat going on with some of the presidents for like UCSC and like also SJSU, I think, is in there. I actually don't know. There's just a bunch of numbers and I actually don't know their names. But yeah, so I don't know if they've actually reached out. I'll text them, and if not, then I'll just reach out and be like, hey, what about this? I don't know what we can give you, but hopefully you can help us out.
One more potential concern is since they don't have any competitive events on Saturday, they might not have judges booked for that day. And so we might be on our own finding judges.
That seems like something that among us we should be able to figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the judges everyone would initially prefer, but there's a lot of people around who'd be willing to judge.
So Stanford actually had judges like quote unquote booked. So there are people that are available to judge on that Saturday. It's just a matter of like, paying them.
Does Stanford, do you know what rate Stanford typically offers? Is like 200 or 300?
I actually don't know.
Like that's a small enough thing that mixing monies with All-Star is probably not a possibility. Like we wouldn't be able to hire the judges and then mix somehow registrations. But it's not that much money. That it seems like we should be able to find some way to get money to bring that group of judges in if they're still available and if the space will work out.
Yeah, I guess if like Dance Stars has a scrutineer and if they have a DJ, then I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't know what would be in it for them. Why would they want to do it?
Well, if they're a new comp, then we're offering to bring them a group of active college students who would possibly stay around for the workshop day that they're having on Saturday, and then a group of new open dancers to come to their very first competition.
So publicity.
That's the best I can come up with off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, somebody was pushing a competition the day after a collegiate competition. Was this it? Dan, I think, was trying to get people to stick around a day later to go to. I thought it was this competition. Never mind. But I think, Taylor, I think that could be a selling point.
So I guess whoever talks to them needs to be a very good salesperson.
Who's actually in contact with the organizers? I know who they are, but I don't know either of them personally.
So we haven't actually reached out yet. We do have a contact number that we can. So we have the assistant of, I think it's Karina and Elena, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are organizing it. So we have Elena's assistant's contact number.
Okay, so I've been in direct contact with Elena for organizing workshops at UCLA, so I'm sure I could just mention it to her if we knew exactly what we were asking for.
Should we try to figure that out then? Like, what exactly are we asking?
Sure.
Okay.
Because it is very last minute, but I know that she is spending a lot of time. Actually, that makes me think of another thing that we could offer her. Is she needs people to help her with advertising of the competition. So that's potentially another thing we could offer her, is that we have at our scale, upwards of hundreds of college kids who could help her advertise.
So what are we planning on? So basically what we want is possibly getting that first half of the Saturday turned into a syllabus collegiate competition.
Yeah. At the same hotel or nearby? I'm assuming at the same hotel.
I'm assuming wherever they have space.
Because the other possibility is that since this is a hotel, right? Or
I mean, usually from Saudi.
I believe it's the West End in San Jose.
Yeah, I can't tell where it
Maybe
is.
they don't have a venue yet.
They've got to have a venue. Wait, no, they have a.
Well, it's in San Jose. I know that.
Here we go.
Weston, San Jose.
So, okay, so hotel.
So long as the hotel had the same ballroom available in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would be our responsibility to pay for it, by no means cheap.
Oh, yeah, if we had to pick up the cost of the hotel room, that might break it right there. That's probably on the order of a couple thousand.
Yeah.
It's also possible that they're reserving that first half of the day to set up the competition if they don't have the reservation for Friday evening.
Yeah. So maybe the way we would approach it is to ask, to explain the situation we're in our interest and ask what their situation is with the ballroom.
Okay.
Let me throw out one other possibility too. Bringing over the Stanford judges, the ones who are lined up for Cardinal, is a good idea. Failing that though, since we're talking about a syllabus level competition only, what if we ran it like a mini competition like Rosebud or Mini Beach Ball and simply had the judging and the organizing and all of that handled by the senior dancers in the community?
We'd be down for that.
So we would probably. So where are we thinking of doing this?
We're talking about the location of Dance Stars Festival, I believe the Westin.
Okay.
So my question with that is, Dance Stars is an NDCA competition, and if we're going to try and tag on and do this syllabus thing and have it be associated with the Dance Stars Festival, wouldn't we need NDCA certified judges?
Yeah, we would. I would assume we would want to keep it separate from the NDCA competition, but we would be obviously asking to use the space. And then in return for that, we would advertise the competition.
But not actually be affiliated with Dance Stars.
I would suggest
As a
not.
competition.
Yeah, because the point you raised, you're absolutely right. And as soon as you start engaging formally with the NDCA, then all kinds of rules and stuff come into play that probably not insurmountable, but a huge logistical overhead.
So would the entry fees go to us or go to them?
If we're not connected, then they go to us. And possibly we could donate the funds. If we don't have to hire judges, then we don't really need the money.
Unless we have to pay for the venue.
If we have to pay for the venue, we don't have an option. We just can't do it because it'd probably be around $2,000. And there's no way you can make $2,000 based off syllabus registration.
If you didn't have any other overhead, I think you could. You said $20 a dancer. You'd need 100 of them. 100 syllabus dancers.
Especially if you're not going to let open dancers from the Bay Area go in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know this is kind of a long shot. It won't be like an actual competition, but we do have like our practice space for that Saturday, but it's like a basketball court kind of thing. If we want to make it a little bit like less fancy and more janky, then we can do that.
How many hours do you have the court for?
So we can maneuver around. We usually have space from like 9 to 6. Yeah, on Saturdays.
You have 9 hours of practice space on Saturdays?
Yeah, we do. But the thing is, we do have to shift rooms. So that's the only thing. But we can probably see if we can like shift like other groups' schedules and be like, hey, for the day, is it okay if you guys use that room? So that's what we did for our like Berkeley beginners, right? So we just had like a gym, but it's not fancy. That's the only thing. It's just a basketball court.
I think that's fine. Would they be okay with having out of college people there? Because I know at UCSB, if the cost of an event goes way up if you have people who are not UCSB coming in.
Yeah,
So,
that's the only thing. I have to find that out. I think that might be a problem. I can find that out.
And that would be possibly even a bigger problem when it comes to like the judges and scrutineer. Like open level dancers would be an impact, but then if the people who you rely on to run the competition can't even get in.
Oh, they can get in. Like we can just like sneak them. Like they're not gonna. Well, I don't know.
Well, I'm all for sneaking people into rooms they shouldn't be allowed into, but for a competition of this scale,
Yeah, that's
people
true.
are going to notice. You can't just like sneak in like 150 people into a basketball
Just
court.
have a really big extended family. Just say that.
All variety of ethnic backgrounds.
It's America.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just like literally throwing out possibilities. Another possibility would be to rent out a space that we have that we use for Hot Latin Night, which is, I think William, you remember, it's like it's like Chevron Auditorium at like International House, but it doesn't have a practice floor. It's literally just a floor with a stage. It looks really nice, and that would cost about like 1.5K. And I can see if that's available.
Yeah, and since it's on campus, there's a possibility that you could get like additional funding from the school, right?
Yes, but we are already getting funding for Hot Latin Night, so we want to use that for that. So we can't really have funding twice for that room. Would we want if that is available, do we want to do it on the 28th again, or like what would be the best option?
As far as other events going on, the 28th is good. We still have the issue of the scrutineer. I'll take the action to check with Kenneth as to his availability, but I'll try to get back to you on that sooner rather than later. If he's available, or if somebody else can come up with another scrutineer, I think the 28th is a good idea.
Is Ava a scrutineer?
Yes.
But is she very expensive?
I don't remember.
Okay, because I like.
She used to work with college competitions quite a bit, but hasn't for the last 3 or 4 years.
So that could be an option. Ooh. Okay.
Okay. So, a lot of possibilities here. Let me see if I can sum up. We had talked about Taylor contacting All Stars Dance Festival about possibly having something on Saturday, SJSU looking about if they had availability to get space on Saturday, and Berkeley looking at space availability on Saturday. Do we want to pursue all of these as opportunities? I mean, if to the individual people, I guess, if you're willing to do it, it might be worth asking the question. Something may come up.
Okay.
I'll check with Kenneth. If you have contact information for Ava, Jenny, I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
And I can reach out to Elena today.
Okay.
She usually responds within about 24 hours.
So the only thing is, like, if I contact Ava, we don't really have a venue yet, so she's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm available," but then it's like, "JK."
Well,
like,
yeah, you want to form your request as we're looking at the possibility of a competition, and we're trying to figure out space and scrutineer. I mean, those are the two most critical things. You can't have a competition without space and without some solution for scrutineer.
Yep.
So as long as you form it as we're looking into this, are you available, rather than asking for a commitment, you should be okay.
Okay. So for just one last question for that space that I'm talking about, it's about 1.5K. If we take on the costs, how would I guess where would the funding come from? Like, we could possibly take on the costs, but then we would need help with paying judges and all that.
This would presumably be a competition without a showcase.
Yeah, I guess. So also what I was thinking was I was actually talking to Michelle Klutz, who's Cal Poly's, who's like one of our friends and also in Cal Poly. So maybe we could do like a joint showcase, like me and William, and then Michelle and Bumchin. That could be really fun.
That could be.
I don't know, William. What do you think?
Maybe. Are we down?
Yeah, it could just be something fun. It doesn't have to be all fancy, and it's something that we're throwing together last minute.
So I think along that sort of plan, you probably could break even. 1.5K for the room, and then another 2K for judges, 3.5. You should be able to make that back. And if not, it won't be like you would be out thousands of dollars. If you needed money to get things paid for up front and then like pay back later, I don't know if teams would be willing to support that.
But I guess so all of our revenue comes from entries and spectator tickets. If teams do help out, would they be not paying entries, or how would we do that?
What if you ask teams for some kind of
Donation?
Well,
Contribution.
like you need the money. Is it that you're worried about breaking even at the end, or that you need the money up front in order to be able to lock things down?
At the end.
Okay.
How many couples will we need to make 3.5K?
120.
120. Do you know how many couples are currently registered for Stanford?
120 people if you did $30 a person.
Okay.
So 60
Real
couples.
I think like our team, since we have like a pretty big team, we have like 60 couples. We usually provide most of the revenue for Stanford. So if we're hosting it, we're not going to be paying, right? We're not going to pay entry fees because like if we host Berkeley Classic, none of our team members pay.
Interesting. At beach ball, everybody pays.
USSB has less money, and so we don't pay for hardly anything.
Yeah, so our dues encompass competitions. That's why.
You probably have higher dues.
Yeah, probably.
Higher than $10.
No, it's 28.
It's not $10. What?
Used to be $10.
Yeah, ours are like 90.
Yeah, that's a lot higher.
So that's my only concern. How would we get the revenue if we're not one of the ones providing it? I guess for Classic we did get quite a bit of revenue, but a lot of people came.
What if we ask teams for some kind of very early registration? I mean, we're talking about 6 weeks away-ish. Normally people wait until the last possible minute to register. Maybe it might be possible to overcome natural human nature and say, look, we're trying to pull together a competition to replace Cardinal, but money is going to be an issue. Teams, can you please commit to X number or however many people you think are going to come, but commit to it now, still in March, and then that could possibly address the financial question.
Yeah, because for mini beach ball, one of the ideas we had is just charging colleges like $50, and then they can bring as many couples as they want. But then we know we'll have at least like 50 times how many colleges have agreed to do that, and so we can decide like, is this reasonable or no? And if we decide it's not reasonable, we can just refund them and like say we tried. But if we do get like 4 or 5 colleges that all donate, give us like this amount of money, we can be like, okay, we'll at least break even. Let's proceed.
So just sort of like an initial deposit from everyone who wants to attend.
Yeah.
How'd that work for your team though? Because if the team doesn't pay, right, it's the individuals that pay.
Well, we ended up not deciding on that plan because we wanted to include students from our own college. We didn't want to like have different pricing options. So we don't really know how it works, but we know this is a thing we could consider.
Excuse me if I'm getting this wrong, but why not something where it's like an initial deposit from the teams that are hoping to attend, and then the individuals from each school that want to compete have like the normal fee, and if they end up paying more, you just kind of add on to that deposit. But if you end up having not as many couples compete, then they refund a portion of that deposit, but it's just that initial deposit to get everything paid off at the beginning, and then that just kind of gets added on to at the end.
My concern
I
with
probably
that
explained that really
is
poorly, but
it's hard to predict how many of your couples will want to go to a competition. So if we have one college that says we'll donate, we'll give you $300, and then only 2 couples show up, and they take back like $240, that doesn't really help us at all. So kind of the point of the deposit is to have like some kind of contract that they're willing to donate this much and they're willing to like put in a good amount of effort to bring that many couples.
I suppose maybe one way we could think of it is that rather than having Berkeley bear the entire cost risk, and I do view it as a cost risk, I think this could break even. But if we approach from the standpoint of cost risk, and if Berkeley wasn't comfortable shouldering that entire potential cost risk themselves, then what if we somehow split that among the teams, not try to organize some plan for having all the teams pay for things up front, but let's say we took the path that Alexander had outlined of a deposit and had teams pitch in some amount of money, some fraction of the overall cost, and then once all the registration comes in, we can, if we break even, then teams can maybe get some money back. If we don't break even, then that way the impact to the several teams is spread out across those teams.
So yeah, basically it's coming back to like our initial idea of like a collaborative competition, I guess, like saying like this is how much it costs to run this. Can we split that up into the team, like how much the teams are like, I can't even talk anymore. How much teams can pay. So kind of in a sense, I don't know. However much like you're willing to donate, and then if we make over that, then we can give back the revenue of the profit.
Like let's say each of 7 teams put in $500 and then they would get $500 plus or minus back depending on the revenue from the competition.
Yeah, but then my issue is, or I guess like the concern is like I know like Cal Poly said that they don't have money that they could donate, right? So
yeah.
Another thing you guys could consider is I feel like Stanford is a pretty highly anticipated competition because at least for UCSB, it's the last one of the year. So a lot of people go because it's kind of the last shot. And there's plenty of community members around California in general and some who have moved where if you set up a GoFundMe page and said, hey, like our last competition of the year, this has been canceled and we're trying to bring that experience back for people. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's how much money we're trying to raise. And you send around a GoFundMe page, I think you would get a non-zero amount of money from that. You might not be able to get, like $5,000.
But you wouldn't need to fund the entire competition
Exactly,
either. I mean,
yeah.
it would be, we would obviously assume some amount of revenue.
But you would have some more buffer depending on how many, like if you have a bunch of couples that don't show, you might have some buffer if you had donations as well.
Yeah. So I like these ideas. I think the first 2 things, though, let's make sure we can find a venue and find a available scrutineer. And then maybe middle of this week, I mean, there's not that many weeks left between now and April 28th, but let's maybe check back in on these points middle of next week or certainly by next weekend. And if it looks like there's space, maybe we can figure out some of these financial details, discuss these possibilities a little further.
So with real quick, with the space that I'm talking about, it won't have a practice floor. Is that kind of a problem? Or would people be willing to practice in hallways?
Yeah, is there I would, if I were there and there wasn't a practice floor, I would look around for, is there something nearby I can use?
Nearby meaning like walking distance?
Well, what is the hallway? Is it carpeted or is it polished wood?
Neither, it's tile.
Oh, good enough for me.
But the hallways are pretty small. That's the thing. We do, I mean, we have our practice space that's like down the street that's on the same day. If people want to walk over there, that's fine.
How long of a walk is it?
Like 5 minutes.
That's totally fine.
Yeah, but then
And-
people people wouldn't want to walk in their dresses down the street. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just the thing. I guess the
I
whole
mean, I don't
point.
think it's a deal breaker.
Okay, cool.
I definitely been competitions that didn't have a practice floor and been like, okay, I'll dance in the hallways. I'll dance on carpet, whatever.
Yeah, second beach ball was at a place where the nearest practice floor was like rough concrete outside.
Okay, cool. So like people will complain, but also like we're putting this together last minute. Like
All right. So let's move on. It's already 11, so I think let's try to be brief on the remaining topics. For the rest of the spring quarter, just some highlights. Mini Beach Ball, May 12th is the plan. I'd mentioned CCBDC is having their gala concert also on April 28th, by the way. Further down, of course, California, not likely to be much of an overlap with anything we do on that as far as competition goes. Caltech, I was just trying to pull up their dance camp date to remind myself of it when this call began. I think it's May 19th. Yes, May 19th at Caltech for people in the vicinity. I heard that the first one was quite good, so you may want to keep that on your calendars. And let's change topics to costume restrictions. So we had last time agreed more or less. No, we had agreed completely, at least as far as the vote goes, what we wanted to use for restrictions. I've got two versions here. This is the version that we voted on. Somebody pointed out accurately, I believe, that this is a lot of words, and so these are all the details that we had discussed, and here are all the rules. I came up with a minimalistic version of this also that's the same content essentially, but with most of the words removed. So my hope was, let's put this up on the website, and this also is something that people can copy paste verbatim in their competition rules if you want. If your intention for running a competition is simply to invoke the CDA costume guidelines, you can use either of these. There was conversation earlier. I wanted to give people a chance to come back to what levels they intend to have costume restrictions active. Let's do a quick competition by competition where things stand. And we had done this once before, but let's see if it's the same. So for Berkeley, in the past or going forward, your competition level begins at?
our competition level begins at, or the costume?
Your costume level. The level
So we have had we allowed bronze and above to have costumes.
So not allowed for newcomer.
Not allowed for
All right, Glamour Smackdown.
We allow gold and above.
Gold and up. And SJSU Spartan Invitational.
Bronze.
Sorry?
Bronze.
And Mustang.
We allow silver and up.
And CCBDC, I don't remember off the top of my head. Beach Ball is gold and up. UCLA, let's say you run a competition next year, what would your costume restriction be?
Our consensus was probably gold and up.
Okay. I want to say that CCBDC was open only, but I'm not sure.
That's right.
Okay.
I think there was one comp where no syllabus dancing was allowed.
Okay. So, open discussion. What do people think about why they have their restrictions the way they do? Is there a right way or a wrong way to do this? Why do people put the boundary between costume and costume where they do?
I guess for us, I can start. One of the main incentives that I've heard from a lot of dancers was that they were really excited to wear a costume, and that's one of the things they looked forward to. And a lot of dancers say they start in their junior year or they join the team in their sophomore year. They're not going to get to gold. So all they're going to be wearing is black practice clothes. And that's a little bit, I know that we're trying to make it more cost effective and available for everyone, but for those who want to dress up, they can't. That's just something that we wanted to take into consideration. So we wanted only newcomer levels wearing just practice normal clothes so they can actually learn how to dance and not worry about it. But those who are dancing intermediate, so our intermediates are bronze, silver level. So you can also dance up. So those who dance silver, bronze and silver, they won't have to change between that, if that makes sense. And the newcomers that dance bronze, they just stay within their practice costumes.
Amberly.
I know for us, we've generally done it at silver because, at least for our team, we have some silver people wear costumes and some silver people not wear costumes because kind of, or at least the way it's always been presented to me, is people like gold and up tend to usually always wear costumes. So it makes it kind of, if people are competing bronze, silver, gold on our team, they don't have to change. But we've never been a very serious competition team until this year. So I know we're kind of, I think that might be changing for us, kind of how we look at that. Like before, we've never had anyone on our team who has costumes to pass down or stuff like that until kind of Bumshin and Michelle showed up this year. So things have shifted a little.
Dana, for USC?
Our board voted strongly in favor of keeping it gold and above, and I think we've adopted that perspective from, I don't want to speak for them, but from Jonathan Lorena, who feel that keeping it fair for people of all ranges of, just accessibility, especially since we do have such a large number of dues paying members and we try to encourage everyone to compete. For those who don't plan on competing seriously, it makes them more willing to compete if we say, hey, you can just go to Ross and buy a dress.
All right. SJSU?
Our philosophy is very close to Berkeley's. Consideration that several of our members do have costumes while they're still dancing at the bronze, silver level. And, like Jenny said, they're very excited to wear the dresses, and we don't want to lock anyone out of being able to do that.
Okay. UCLA, Taylor and Alexander.
Yeah, so we mostly echo USC's comment that our board pretty much decided that exactly what USC said, that it's more fair to allow the costumes only for gold and above. We also considered the fact that for some competitions, gold is considered an open level, so it makes sense for costumes to begin at that level, but I know of nowhere where silver is open. So the line between silver and gold is relatively a consensus for where more advancedness starts, if you will.
Yeah, speaking on behalf of Kelly, her opinions match that, mirror that fairly closely. I don't know if William or Lane, if you have anything you'd like to add. Your own thoughts on costumes? Yeah. So I'll point out that having different competitions have the costumes, have the level at which costumes are allowed at different points, to my mind, isn't necessarily a super bad thing. It does risk there being a bit of confusion. Some people may be surprised if they don't read the rules, because how many people always read the rules for each competition? So, maybe there's a little bit of risk there of people being unhappy, but there is kind of a silver lining to having different levels of costume restrictions that I see across the different competitions. You have some people, maybe they really want to wear a costume along the reasoning that mostly NorCal embraces, and so they can go, they can do a silver level competition and wear a costume. But then other competitions, maybe there's some new dancers who can't afford costumes and are intimidated by that crowd. And so maybe they can find some competitions where they won't be up against people with costumes. So I know, so there's some strongly held positions in SoCal, it sounds like, where people want to keep their costume restriction level at gold and up. Would I be correct in supposing that in NorCal, your position also is strongly held?
I would say so.
I would say, yeah. I know a lot of my team would be very disappointed to know that they won't be able to wear costumes.
And speaking sort of on behalf of Stanford, I know they have like a costume closet that they have, and so they've always loaned out those costumes to some of their newer dancers, which I think is like part of their culture. Yeah. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, same. We have a lot of hand-me-downs that we bring down, so that's
okay. Well, we have a list now of where the costume restrictions are being drawn by the various competitions. I'm not sure that I see a lot of opportunity for compromise at the moment, maybe in the future. Does anybody else have any other thoughts as to a different way of looking at the costume situation, or other thoughts you'd like to share?
I think perhaps a good way of denoting it would be putting, making it clear that the level at which costumes are enforced will vary by competition, or something to that effect being put at the top of the costume definition. That while this defines costume, the level at which costume is enforced will depend on the competition.
It's been on my mind that now that we have an agreed upon definition of what a costume is, that this is something that as a group we would do well to publish, especially to the schools that maybe aren't at these meetings. And so a list describing where the costume restrictions are drawn per competition would be a helpful addendum to that list. So I can take the lead in putting that together, and then we can get that distributed. I think that would be something worth doing in the spring or summer, I guess, before the next competition year, and then that way people can plan ahead. I recall somebody saying costuming is something people would rather know about much sooner rather than later, because maybe they're acquiring costuming now. Maybe this is something we should publish now and again as we head into the fall 2018 competition schedule. Okay.
Are the rules being put in place for fall 2019?
The coming fall, you mean?
Coming fall.
Yes.
I remember some talk about like pushing it back a year so people could take that time to like either level up or like find new costumes if theirs don't fit the bill. So I'm a little worried about implementing it this coming fall.
Most of the costume guidelines that we came up with were in fairly close alignment to what people were already doing if they had a clear definition. I would say that, as with what we've done before, it's up to each competition what rules really they want to apply. So for instance, if a school didn't want to have the same definition of costume as what we've agreed on for the CDA guidelines, it's at their freedom to do that. Is there any school that would like it to be made clear when we publish the list of CDA costume guidelines that their competition may have different guidelines or take exception to any part of it? We could do it that way. Okay. If there are contrary thoughts on that point later, let me know. We don't want to try to push anybody in a direction that they're not prepared to go, of course. The next and second to last topic, CDA Spotify playlists. So Kelly has been working on this quietly in the background. I'm going to do a screen share here and pull up her list of playlists. So she's been putting together playlists sort of along two lines. She has a group of playlists that she's just been gathering all kinds of music, and then she's been sorting that into a second set of playlists where everything is sorted by competition tempi. And so she has this list below for all of the categories and dances, including nightclub. And these lists, let's see, she's got collaborative lists and lists that are meant for public use. The way Spotify works, I guess, is that you can't have a list which is both collaborative and public. So the idea is that the collaborative lists, everybody in CDA, we have these links to them. You can go to them, you can add things to them. And then the public lists are the ones where Kelly has reviewed all of the tempi. And so the public lists, nobody else can go in and change things or accidentally maybe add something that hasn't been checked out. But the idea is then she would take these collaborative lists that people have added songs to and then sort through them to put the music into the public lists. And then competitions or people who want to practice or run rounds can use those public lists and then play music off of them. So my intention was that I could share this list of collaborative playlists, and then people can add music if they're motivated to. Also, I'll suggest that if you're looking for stuff to practice to, we want to make sure that the tempi that we are putting together for competition playlists match what is actually being done. We talked a little bit last time about what the official NDCA tempi are, and it's not 100% clear to me, or at least I'm not 100% confident that the published tempi are actually what people are dancing to these days. So the idea is if you're practicing and you use Spotify, please try out some of these playlists, dance to the music. If there's things that don't make sense, then please let Kelly know, and we can get the right music put together and then have a playlist that people can use for competitions. Thoughts or questions on that? Kelly is also very eager to get some help on her nightclub playlists. I think her hustle playlist right now may only be 2 songs long, and one of them is Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I'll get that distributed. Last item, if people still have time, there was a request to discuss competition yard sales, an idea that that we came up with at UCSB. Essentially, people bringing their old dance gear to a common forum, putting it on display and offering it to newer dancers for sale. The way that we're running it is that some percentage of the sale is being recommended to make as a donation to the club, because the club is putting it together, and we're treating this as an opportunity for Cotillion at UCSB to also fundraise. I don't remember who it was who had the dividing interest in this. Might have been Mengsha.
It was Mengsha, yeah.
So if there are no other parties that have an active interest in discussing that right now, we can be brief and return to it later. Chris Allwood, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Hi, apologies for joining quite late, but I'm here now.
It tells me something that that you thought we would still be in meeting, which means that probably these meetings are running long.
Yeah, well, based on the last few ones, I figured you guys would probably still be meeting. So
yeah, a lot of discussion about what we can try to do regarding the competition on the 28th. Now that you're here, Chris, it reminds me. So a couple of things that we want your opinion on.
Okay.
First one, reminder for everybody: do you have your dance records available to Chris so that he can parse them and then so that I can score them? I guess this is a question primarily for USC.
I'm actually not sure of that myself. I know we were working with, because of some time conflicts, we were actually working with 2 scrutineers. Like, we were working with Kenneth to plan the competition, and then we had Guillermo work on it on the actual day of. So let me ask Erin, and she will get back to you. But I imagine that we should have them, but because this is actually our spring break, some of that might have gotten missed at our last board meeting as we recover from the post-Glamour SmackDown craziness.
Chris, do you have what you need to be able to score the O2CM based competitions from the winner?
Yeah, I have everything for that, so that's no problem.
Okay. And then I will get those scored, and then we can update. The idea that we discussed last time was to maybe add rows to your graphical interface and then just have everything available on that one page.
Yeah, that'd be easy to add.
Okay.
Add some more metrics on there.
And then second question. That was weird. Second question, Chris. We were talking about scrutineers for the 28th. You're unavailable. Are you aware of any scrutineer who might be available?
I mean, there's Kenneth, of course. I don't know if he's available, but I mean, he'd be one person to contact. If you wanted to use O2CM, I could see if there's any others available on that day. We have a technician contact list. Most of them are not on the West Coast, but there might be some that are, so I could ask.
If you could, that would be helpful. Things are in the tentative phase. We're looking for locations and scrutineers, but if we're going to move forward, then we'll need to have at least those two things.
I have a quick question. Ava is still a scrutineer, possibly, maybe? Chris, do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't think she's scrutineered in a while. I don't know if she still is. I'm not sure.
Okay.
She's a little hard to get in contact with, but you could try reaching her and see if she's still doing that. So.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, actually, I was looking into the Spotify usage, and it looks like technically you cannot use your personal Spotify at a public event, but you can purchase Spotify Business for commercial license use.
How expensive?
That I do not know. Free 30-day trial, but I can't see how much it costs after that.
Okay.
I'm finding it's about 35 a month.
Yeah.
Soundtrack Business. Oh wait, no, that's something different.
No, that's correct.
No, that is it. All right.
Yeah, it's $34.99 a month.
Okay. Anything else? William? SJSU?
Nope.
Jenny? Dana?
No.
Chris?
No.
Amberly?
Nope.
Peter? Alexander Peter?
Nope.
And Taylor?
All good.
We're good on this end. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been a live broadcast, so I'll put a link on the YouTube page. We'll leave it up for a few days so people can review. We'll probably take it down not too long after that. And then we'll see you all. Let's be in touch later this week about those questions about the April 28th competition. See if this is going to be a possibility. And then we'll be in touch maybe in April or probably more likely May for the next CDA Telecon if that works for people. All righty. Have a good one.